to my review for the first episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Steel Ball Run. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are finally here with episode 1 of Steel Ball Run. Now, as you guys know, we have a bit of an unorthodox viewing experience for Steel Ball Run, where only so far the first episode has been released, and we still do, and at this moment we do not have a set release date yet for when episode 2 or the rest of the series will air. Which makes me think this is not going to be like we're only the first episode next week. They're going to be dropping the rest of the series and do a regular weekly episode review or a weekly episode release schedule because, like I said, the director still doesn't have an actual date, so there's no way it's going to be done by next week. So obviously we're not going to get into. So thankfully, which I was kind of hoping for, like they will only do like the first episode, then maybe months down the road they'll drop the Steel Ball Run as a weekly anime series, weekly, a few months away from, Invincible, The Boys, and Daredevil Born Again, all airing at the same time, man. Which is also, as you guys know, the reason why I didn't end up posting this or watch this on Friday, and I'm recording this actually on Sunday. Because of Invincible taking me the entire weekend basically just to edit and record through all 3 episodes, which I was shocked. Which I was like, oh motherfucker! I thought it was just the first episode. When you dropped the first 3, goddammit, I got even more shit I got to edit through. So that was it. And there's a good chance this review will not come out till Monday. I'm recording this on Sunday because it's like almost 5:30 right now. The Invincible reaction, which took a while to upload, and then I was doing some other stuff on the side before I actually sat down and watch the episode for Steel Ball Run. So there's a good chance that this review might get delayed and not actually released until Monday, but I'll know for sure once I'm actually finally done editing it to know if I'll release it tonight or if I'll just wait until release it tomorrow in the morning and you guys will have Vigilantes come out later the same day. We'll have to wait and see on that. Anyway, so yeah, the episode itself, it was fantastic. I will give this one, I don't know if they are going to be doing just if they're just going to be doing these like as single episode releases, covering each section of the actual Steel Ball Run, basically making these almost glorified movies, especially making these episodes basically like they're almost like pseudo films in a sense, where they're covering each of the sections of the Steel Ball Run. I do know multiple episodes are in production, so it's not like the Demon Slayer where like the team is only working on the first episode, then they move to the second. No, it's treated like a standard anime production where multiple episodes are in production at any given time. So, we'll have to wait and see. But I will say, one thing this already does look better in terms of production compared to Stone Ocean, which you guys also did the single cores batch releases that they were doing with the cores, is that we don't have weird blank silhouettes for background characters. All the background characters are drawn like they were in the previous parts. So I'm glad. I don't know why they did that with Stone Ocean, where they just randomly drew silhouettes for background characters when that was like never a thing throughout the first anime, throughout Stardust Crusaders anime adaptation. Production through Diamond Road. You guys know it was definitely. If you guys go back to see the original TV broadcast of Diamond Unbreakable, man, you'll be surprised that they were definitely the day production was not built for doing a single animation that went 40 episodes, because that had a lot of you compare how the drawings look to the TV version compared to what they look like in the Blu-ray, man. There's a lot of redrawn episodes, a lot of redone drawings that were off-model in the TV version that had to be fixed in the Blu-rays. It's also kind of the same when you look at it. Golden Wind didn't have this problem. It was only Stone Ocean for whatever reason. So I am happy that for this part they didn't go back. They got rid of the blank silhouettes, the background characters. I don't know what happened with Stone Ocean, why you guys did that. But that looked great, man. The CGI on the horses looked pretty good. There was actually a surprising amount of 2D shots of the horses. I figure that because, if you guys don't know, horses are a bitch to draw. Apparently they're like the hardest animal to draw. I feel just from how big they are and their size and whatnot, man. So, that was going to be a task and a half for the team just to draw that, because, this is about horse racing. But there was a surprising amount of drawings where the horse was fully 2D, though obviously a good shot. Shots that were also 3D as well, so no surprise. But yeah, it was amazing. The dub cast was phenomenal. You guys want to watch this dub because you guys want to watch JoJo dub. Patrick Sides was once again the ADR director. Well, not once again. He was replacing Tony Oliver as the ADR director for Steel Ball Run's anime adaptation. Now, before we jump right into the episode, there's one thing I want to mention that I literally just saw this earlier today, right before I was about to watch the episode, because Chibi had dropped this video, talking about seemingly a line getting censored in the dub versus the sub. Now, you guys know that sometimes that's happening in animes, where a character will say one line in the sub and then it's changed in the dub for whatever reason, censored in it, which actually, some fun fact, if you guys didn't know, sometimes it's the other way around, where whoever translated the subtitles fucked up and the dub fixes them to make them more accurate, while the subtitle might add more swear words or change something that's not actually accurate. I know this because actually, because you guys know, I think I mentioned this before, that I watch panels of anime dub VAs on Twitter, on YouTube, from like GalaxyCon and whatnot, man, while I'm usually editing my episode reaction. I'm usually watching those con, I'm usually going through, I'm usually listening to like con panels from them. And I got like a boatload in my backlog that I've been slowly chipping away at. But anyway, this happened with one that had both Clifford as well as his wife, Kristen McGuire, where they both had instances of where the subtitles had fucked up and they went back to fix it, but then they were debating like, oh, do I actually fix it and have people go and have people like come at me on Twitter saying I ruined the dub and censored it, man. Like, he mentioned New Game and she had mentioned another show where both of them had like added a swear word in the sub that wasn't actually there in the original Japanese audio. They went back to fix the dub and they were kind of like worrying if they should actually like keep it or keep the fuck up or actually fix it, because you know how Twitter would respond. And so like when I watched the episode, I wanted to check who the adapted scriptwriter was to see, and it was once again David, and it was once again Patrick as well. He was both the director as well as the adapted scriptwriter as well for Steel Ball Run. He was also the surprise to the casting room as well. So the original line in the Japanese, this is like when Sandman comes in there to join the Steel Ball Run, which we'll talk about this when we get to part of the episode, but I want to mention this real quick before I forgot about it. Where in the original Japanese, he says, with the white man's mind, while the dub, it was changed to with legal American tender. Which, honestly, now you guys know, Dan Patrick Syke is an OG. He is someone that's been around since like the 2000s, been adapting scripts for a long time, and you guys know he also did, he worked alongside J. Michael Tatum for the adapting script for Steins Gate Man. Brother's an OG. He is not the type of ADR, the adapted script writer, that will just randomly change lines because of something like that. He's an OG. He's not that type of guy. Just from how long he's been in the business. So I think now, and I don't know if what the manga said, if the manga version also had them mentioning the white man's money. But this feels like more of him taking creative liberties because it just sounded better in English, which I do got to. I definitely give the line a little bit more style, and I also kind of prefer this one. Now the other one is like right after where Salmon says all I need is a white man's money. Well, in the dub it's to get that prize money. I'll beat them with their own game. Probably a little bit more direct compared to the Japanese, assuming this is actually an accurate translation with these subtitles, because like I said, sometimes the people translating this fuck up. But honestly, this is definitely one where I think the sub is better. He says all I need is a white man's money. I think that turns out a little better. But I do like with legal American tender. Honestly, prefer the dub line for that one, man. In my personal opinion. But yeah, so I want to quickly mention that, guys, just to mention it, man, because I thought that was kind of interesting, man. Like I said, and once I found Patrick, I was like, okay, this was done because of him taking creative liberty, rather than like trying to like censor. Because like I said, the dude's an OG, man. He's worked on plenty of incredible stuff, like I mentioned, Steins Gate. He's not the type of script writer that would need to change shit for no reason. Anyway, without further ado, guys, let's jump right. Also, like I said, guys, before I get right into it, just like when I do my double season episode reviews for the Bleach, which you guys do usually end with a double with an hour-long special episode. It's the last two episodes back to back. This one's gonna be structured like that, where I'm not going as detailed as I typically go. Probably gonna skip more of the episodes because we would be here all day if I went through the entire thing, because this episode's almost 50 minutes. But yeah, wanted to quickly mention that, guys. Anyway, let's just jump right into the actual episode. So we start the episode off with this really nice, just aerial shots. It felt very much in line with like a Western film, like a good spaghetti Western film, which I'm sure was a heavy inspiration for Araki. And I think he even said, that JoJo's was based on Clint Eastwood from those movies, like, you know, the Man with No Name trilogy. Because I was like, obviously, you know, Araki, I think he's like in his 60s or something. He's much older than he actually looks. I don't know where this dude finds a fountain of youth to look like, to where the dude practically hasn't aged in decades. But anyway, that was like a heavy inspiration for him for JoJo was Clint Eastwood. So he's obviously a fan of these types of films. So this felt very, so it felt very much inspired by that kind of. And I also really love the music. And we also get this really nice shot of like a boat moving that as the camera pans through it, man, around, which isn't on Sakaboro, but it looks pretty impressive though, I will say. That looked pretty cool. We got some really nice aerial shots. We get some narration from I believe it was Johnny Joestar was doing some narration here about the old American West and everything about that. So, but yeah, looked amazing. I love the sound, and from what we heard of the soundtrack so far for Part 7, sounds incredible. Anyway, so he started properly with Sam Mendes. He's running away from some other Native Americans, which I'm assuming were part of his tribe. And by the way, they also I'm almost certain now that this isn't an instance of censorship, because 2 instances of a character saying the white man appears here. One where he says, "Look, I found white man's books in his white man's books in his cave," or whatever, his tarp. I don't know. I forget what he said. But he said white man's books. So there, and he also says, "Look, he's even running like a white man." So obviously this isn't a censorship. Like I said, either this was creative liberties by Patrick Seitz, or it was just that they just couldn't get they had to change the line because it couldn't fit within the flaps. Just so this definitely, I would definitely clear that. Like I said, Patrick Seitz, he's an OG. He's not the type that would be making stupid, pointless changes like that. From that factor on, like, his work speaks for himself. If you guys go to him and check out some of the other shows, some of the shows he has worked on as an adaptive scriptwriter, like Steins. Anyway, so we then cut over to like, I guess, the opening of the Steel Ball Run, or a press conference of the Steel Ball Run. So we got the main guy who I don't think we know his name other than his name is like Mr. Steel or Mr. Run or something. Or Mr. Ball, I forget exactly what his name was. But you guys know his voice by Stephen Steele. That's right, his name is Steele. By Jameson Price in the dub, and the original Japanese voiced by All Might Say. He sounded great, man, and he's like, "This is a Steel Ball Run. Where you'll be traveling from San Diego up to like New York, and you'll be the first American, the first race on horseback." Move the whole thing. We get some comments. We get some questions from the press. One of them mentioned how a guy from Germany is going to be to participate in the race on an automobile, and he got his blessing because what is America if not a land of progress? I was going to mention some line about freedom and all that shit, patriotism and all that. And then another guy mentions about what happens if no one makes it to New York. What if no one actually crosses the fence? And what then? He's like, "Oh, my bosses will probably kill me. That was a joke. If you will treat me like a friend, then I will speak as so. There is no such fear. No one will turn away from the side of adventure," or whatever. Bro was adamant that someone will finish this ring. And then we cut to this dude sobbing into his girl's arm, I'll be like, "I am a failure," and all this. And Jameson sounded great here, but I was super curious to see what All Might Say would sound like here, man. So after I watched this with the dub, I rewinded back and rewatched it with the Japanese, and bro, I was floored. You guys know how All Might Say has a typically deep voice? Imagine the exact opposite of that. The inverse. He goes super high up. He sounds even whinier. And I was listening to that. I was absolutely floored listening to it. If you guys are like me and you mostly watch anime dub and whatnot, man, you watch JoJo dub, go back and rewatch that with the Japanese, man. All Might Say, man, he sounded incredible here, man. I was floored when I saw how high his voice was at. Bro got some range, man. He got some insane range. I did not know bro was built like that, because you guys know, I'm pretty sure I've only ever heard him in Hero Walker as well, but I don't know if I've ever heard him in any other shows or whatnot, man, but I was shook. I was absolutely flabbergasted about his performance as he's whining to his girlfriend about being a failure. And it's like, "Oh, you've been promoted for 40 years, you'll do," it's like, "Alright, I'll try." It was a pretty funny scene. Anyway, we then cut over to Gyro Zeppelin, going over to get his ticket to pay the entry fee. And also we found out that the entry fee is $150, and people were saying that was like a money scheme, but he says that, hey, that was just to cover medical costs. Remember, this is $18.90, and that's $150. I'm pretty sure just for inflation that'd be like easy a few grand nowadays, if not maybe 10 grand or 100 grand. That was a lot of fucking money back then, man. You gotta remember that. I don't have the exact conversions on me, but if you guys know, leave it down in the comments. You guys know the exact conversion rate, what that would be with inflation, how much that would be nowadays. But yeah. Either way, it's a lot of fucking money. Anyway, so Gyro signs, I thought that was a nice little touch. I do like what that Patrick, I don't know if this is like this in the Japanese as well, where he does purposely make the language sound a bit more old-timey, like people talk like they do in like Western films. Like he says, like, "I'll need your John Hancock," which is obviously a censor, but who the fuck says John Hancock? in the year 2026. So I thought it was a nice little touch from Pat. I don't know if this is in the Japanese as well, but I thought it was a nice touch from Pat to actually add some like more old-timey language into the dub script to actually fit the time period. Which I thought was a nice touch from Pat. Anyway, so then this guy behind him, this crook, this thief, kind of goes back and tries to check out his balls and grabs one of the balls, the steel balls. Which obviously, you guys remember I mentioned in my reaction to the trails. I'm almost certain that it's some variation of Harmon, or using Harmon with the ball just from the sound effects and the lightning. It looks like that he's using Harmon in some capacity. Whether or not we're going to actually see any actual stands in Part 7, and it's just Harmon, I'm not sure, but I think we will be seeing Harmon in this part. But I don't know if we'll see any stands. Anyway, so he tries to grab the ball. He ends up like falling down to the ground while it's like his palm is touching it, man. He's like, "Hey, man, I just wanted to get look. I didn't mean nothing by it." And then, oh, by the way, Kaiji, I have to say, sounded incredible here, man. Like, he's probably the highlight of the dub for me so far. Is Kaiji? I love him as Gyro Zeppelin. He's probably the highlight, but he's like, and then he asks the dude to have to like count his entry fee and see if he had all of his money there. And then he's like, "Hey, it's all there. I want to end recording with you." So he checks these $20 short. He's like, "Oh, where'd all that money go? You know, you better give me back what you pillaged, or else I can't compete. If I can't compete, I can't win." So then he opens his fist. There's a missing $20 worth of coins. It's kind of surprising. I guess were bills not a thing back in the 1800s? I thought they were, but anyway. Whatever the case may be, he gets his money back, and everything is square. The dude, after he tries, the dude's all hot and bothered, screaming, cursing, like, "This isn't over. Fuck you, man. I ain't no thief," etc., etc. He pulls a gun on him, man. Gyro, man, is just disarm him. Tells him, then he pulls it out, telling him to pick it up while he unclips one of the steel balls and be like, "Pick it up." Ready for a good old-fashioned Mexican standoff. This is when we see Johnny start to pop in as he tries to get to the front of the crowd. The sheriff shows up, man, and when Gyro is distracted, he goes for the gun, but Gyro throws one of the balls at him that curls his arm up, and then he just like you put the gun down and go see a doctor for that. But he ends up like trying to shoot anyway, and it ends up curling the gun where basically his head turns back at him and he shoots himself in the head. So after that whole thing with the guy, the sheriff is like, "Oh, it was a standard duel, nothing to worry about here," and keeps him moving. This is when we start to see Johnny get. This is when we finally get to see Johnny some more, and he starts wheeling himself towards Gyro, and ends up touching the ball, and ends up being able to stand for a brief moment before he like falls right back down there. And he's like, "I need to know what was that? What was the secret of the ball? I need to know what happened." He tells me just a muscle spasm. He's like, "What was it? I need to see those balls. I need to see that ball again." And because he thinks that things have some power to give him his ball back to walk. And so we get this whole thing, even though that Johnny is handicapped, that does not stop this man, because as he's like starts chasing after Gyro some more, he like pushes this old dude out of the way as he tries to get to him. Like I said, he tells him to fuck off. It's not there. He tells him to pay him to see him. When he's done with this conversation, he isn't done yet. Then the old guy comes back with his voice, Kurt Thornton, which is good to hear him, man. Comes back at him, just like, "Hey man, did you think I forget about that?" Then bro grabs him, judo throws him, uses him as a fucking ramp to like off the wheelchair to leap off of him to try and grab him again, to try and grab the ball, and manages to get contact with it. But then Jonathan just moves his hand over to a nearby ledge and just leaves him hanging there. And Gyro gets his prop that he has some strong upper body strength, but once again leaves. This is when the old guy catches back up to him, kicks him a little bit, tells him to scram, get to wheel on home. We then kind of live, I think like a couple days later, to like the day before the actual race or whatever, and we get a flashback to figure out what Johnny is all about. Basically, he was just like this prodigy race runner. He had a brother that was like massive and that was a massive race jockey, won race, but he ended up tragically dying. So then he basically took over the mantle and started horse racing. I don't know why I'm talking about it. Horse racing to honor his brother, basically. He becomes big and famous, man, wins a bunch of races, becomes labeled a prodigy and a genius, and then clearly the fame got to his head, because afterwards we see him going over to, like, I'm assuming some sort of theater to watch a play. I would assume so. And so Johnny and his girlfriend got all the way to the front of the line. This one guy that has been sitting there since the day before waiting to see this play. He's like, hey man, you can't cut in line. And Johnny tells the kid to fuck off. I don't care if you waiting a day. I'm Johnny Joestar. Fuck you. They get into a little scuffle, and then like about whatever I'm assuming is the 1890s equivalent of a bouncer, I would assume, or some guy in a tux, or some guy in a suit comes in and goes and says, oh, we've been waiting here all day, but this kid cut in line. So they start dragging him away, and I'm like, damn, bro, Johnny's an asshole. You know, for what he did. This poor kid who's been waiting here since since yesterday, waiting in line to go see this play episode, because her girlfriend's going on about this actress, and say that actresses will be viewed the same way as art pieces as paintings. So I'm assuming because I'm pretty sure motion pictures didn't get invented until the 1900s, and this is 1890. So I'm sure I'm feeling like it's probably a couple decades out before films will become a thing. But anyway, maybe it was like an opera or something. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, they drag him away. He comes back, shoots him near like his stomach area, near like in the back near his stomach area. Now, surprisingly, nowhere near his spine, because you guys know I thought he would have gotten like shot in the spine or something, but no, he gets caught in like the side. He gets shot in the side, but either way, ends up paralyzed. And we have probably the biggest, or quickest rather, I should say, switch up in me having sympathy for a character. Now, I don't know if any of you guys felt the same way, or or people that were mongers for parts of either while it was publishing or when JoJo started to get pick up steam from the Dave Productions anime adaptation, people started to read ahead. But I'm curious to see if anyone else had the part where you start off being like, damn, Johnny's an asshole because of what happened to this kid, and be like, alright, bro, you kind of deserve that. You kind of had that coming when he gets shot in the back. To then where he's in a hospital, bro has shit himself, is yelling at the nurse to go and clean him up, and then we found that he has something attached to his leg, to his foot, where it seems like he's it's like almost drawing his blood from him, taking a couple pints out of there, he's paralyzed, so he can't even feel it. He said, hey, what's this in my leg? Then eventually the nurse comes in there and just starts beating the shit out of him, puts the newspaper on top of him, punches him a couple times, and be like, nobody cares about you. Who cares? I take a couple pints from you. You ain't gonna feel it. Nobody's come to visit. You're trash. Now you're stuck in hot shit, because like I said, he shit himself, and he's like shoving the newspaper down his throat. I'm like, god damn, bro. And then I started to feel bad for Johnny, because this is horrible treatment, man, that he is, which is also kind of weird. Why is he in this dingy ass hospital? Because it makes it seem like he comes from money and is wealthy. Surely he could have gone to a much nicer hospital, unless they literally had to take him to like the nearest hospital just to stabilize him or whatever. So, because I'm not sure why else he would be like in such a dingy hospital, not somewhere that was a bit more prim and proper, because obviously he has the money for it. But regardless of it, I felt bad for Johnny, and I kind of went for like, he's an asshole to, hey, this is kind of this is fucked up. So like I said, I don't know if you guys were anime owners or whatnot, tell me if you also had this kind of quick switch up from hating Johnny to very much sympathizing with him after this. But anyway, he declares that he will enter into the Steel Ball run, and then we see him trying to like control this horse, but he isn't having much luck with it, because he can't use his legs, so he can't exactly get on the damn thing. Ends up having a piece of wood get stabbed through his leg, which obviously he can't feel it because he's paralyzed. But yeah, that was crazy. Then we cut to Sandman when he enters in there. Like I said, we have the whole thing about about legal American tender and whatnot. Man, you guys already know my thoughts about that whole thing. And then we cut to the actual start of the race itself. This is when we also get introduced to Dio, and the race begins. And we find out that Mr. Steel and the rest of the viewers, or I guess the press, pretty sure, will be watching the Steel Ball run via trade. That's basically going to be tracking them throughout the entire race. I thought that was pretty cool, not gonna lie. I thought it was pretty cool. But anyway, so then somehow Johnny dangles himself over to the radar. I don't even know how, because like I said, his head is just dangling on the little foot holster thingy that are on the saddles. I don't know if it has an actual name to it, because I don't know anything about horse racing. Anyway, so he gets there, man, and Gyro gives him a hint, and says like, you already know the answer. If you have the resolve to get on the hearse, then why don't you just put it into action? And then he tells the horse to begs the horse to lick him again, and this time the horse basically rolls him back on top of him, man, which was animated really nicely, by the way, I must say. This was a really cool cut. And then the race actually begins. We also get our second commercial break, I think it was now. And I love the little transition of Steel Ball Run. And yeah, from here on, the race is on its way. We also found that Abdul also makes a cameo in here as well, which is pretty cool to see. It was nice to see Abdul. of course, riding a camel because, of course, he is. I was kind of curious to know if he was also got recast, like Johnny knows that he didn't bring back, and he was. He was now played by the guy, I forget his name, but he's the guy that voices Kefka in Kaiju number 8, as he also voices 7 ZZZ. So yeah, that's cool. But yeah, that was cool to see him. But anyway, so yeah, Gyro gets to an early lead. Eventually, Abdul catches up to him. They have a little little throwdown, a little clash, and then he just throws Abdul into an area full of cacti and just like stops him there. I don't know if this is the end of Abdul or if he's gonna come back later on in the race. But either way, if this was his only first, hey, it was cool to see Abdul once again in JoJo's new Ultra Reality. Yeah, so the race continues on. We also then get introduced to Polo Loco, where he realizes Yoko slept, so he like rushes to go back on, so he like rushes to get his horse and catch up to the race. He's now rocking number 777, and they end up passing the car, the automobile guys, because the German with the car, and the car basically crapped itself. It's like, now that I think about it, I figured it was like fuel, some amount of fuel for like 400 yards. They were never gonna make it. It was like truly a sad state of truly an unfortunate affair, whatever it was. But yeah, that's the end of the race for them. So then Dio finally catches up to him, man. Dio's kind of great. He's voiced by what was his name? Damon Hayes. I don't know his last name right, but if you guys watch Chris's interviews, he's interviewed him 4 times. But yeah, he voices Diego. This is I think I've heard him in a couple other shows, but like he's my favorite role of this man. I love the voice he used for Diego. He's probably my second favorite cast member of part 7 so far. So yeah, they kind of go out. Then he like finds. And also, if you guys, one other cool Easter, if you guys paid attention, you actually notice the Joestar star on the forehead of his horse, which I thought that was a cool detail. But he's like this this great race jockey athlete, man. He's been racing in the UK for years, and he's like his whole thing is that he can catch tails of a horse to his advantage, and also like bobbing and weaving to go through and to win the race. And he finds out the catch of Gyro's horse, where like every 8 breaths he like has to slow down and like readjust himself. He uses that slow down speed to catch up and eventually pass him. So then they get over to like this bridge area where Gyro then uses his steel balls on like the horse's thighs, I think is that body part, and has the horse leap over in the air. Over Dio, and then basically destroys the bridge under him, and leaving him stuck while the others just kind of go around it to catch back up. We then cut back over to Sandman, where he like took a bunch of other riders to some alternate pathway that was away from the actual racetrack, and they're like fuck, and he like jumps over this huge cliff, and they're like fuck this, because like it would be a great shortcut, but like it's a massive jump, and they didn't want to risk it. But one of them was like fuck this, I'm going that way, fuck this. But Polo Loco, who manages to finally catch up with everybody, which from some of the tweets I've seen since the Part 7 trailers have been dropping, and the dub trailer and Cendrix got announced as the voice of it, I've been seeing a lot of tweets on this guy from F5, so I'm under the assumption that Polo Loco is like very much a fan favorite character of Part 7. And you know what? I can definitely see the appeal, man. This dude is just super carefree. He thinks he's the luckiest man in the world because he got his fortune told to him a bit ago, man. So he's on cloud 9, man. He thinks he's hot shit, invincible, unstoppable, and just wants to lay around and do nothing. but he ends up taking the risk and taking the dive because of his great luck. Ends up not making it, man. But Sam tells him, if you got lasso, use that. He uses that and is able to pull himself over the cliff and his back on dry and his back on ground, solid ground. And then we cut back over to back with the actual race, where Gyro is followed by Johnny and a few others. I believe Dio also followed them as well, but I might be wrong. Goes into this forest area for a shortcut, and Polo Loco joins as well. And Polo Loco kind of just, I am one with the force with me, where he just closes his eyes, man, and just lets the horse control everything, man, and ends up avoiding all the branches and everything, man, before Gyro then uses the balls again to move the trees around to just clothesline him. But somehow his like leg stays on like the little foot holster thing and is being dragged along by the horse as they come outside. But he ends up getting back anyway and catching with their own race. Then this is peak JoJo to the point, man, where they're now in like this grassy area of the track, as I think they're like now in the final like 4 miles of it, or it might have been 8 miles. And then randomly, Polo Loco just sinks to the bottom, disappears. Everyone's wondering what the hell's going on. And then we see him riding a carcass and is just using it like a snowboard to slide all the way down this hill to get in the lead, man. It's fucking insane. Like, this is peak JoJo right here, man, with this whole him sliding on a carcass thing to get extra speed to, get in first place, man. It is true insanity, man. Absolute insanity. So after all of that, we get to the final stretch of the race, which of course comes down to Dio, Gyro, Poco Loco, as well as of course Johnny, as well as Sam. They go down to the final 4 during the last stretch, and Gyro and Johnny are basically next to each other, man. He tells him he's impressed. He's like mentioned how when sailboats catch more wind, that's how they cut through the water more. And also one thing I gotta quickly mention: what the fuck is up with Dio's pants? Like, is this like he literally looks like he got wings shoved into his pants? Like, why are they pointing out to the side like they're plane wings? Is this meant to help with aerodynamics to cut through the wind, like in an F1 car or something? Like to cut down on resistance and get more speed or something? Like, why does his pants just point out like that? It looks bizarre. But whatever the case may be, like I said, they're the final 4. He says observe, and then he uses the balls on the ends of his cape to, I guess, do that same to his sailboat to help push him forward, and ends up winning the race. At least this portion of it. We have the episode with some narration from Johnny mentioning how this is how he learned to walk again. This is how he learned to walk in, but not literally. And it's starting with a strange man named Gyro Zeppelin. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the episode ends. Phenomenal episode, man. Like I said, I was happy to see that there were no random blank silhouettes in this episode. I hope this becomes with me throughout the rest of Steel Ball Run, unlike what happened to Stone Ocean. Seriously, what the fuck was that about? But the episode's awesome, man. I don't know what the release schedule is going to be, if they're going to keep doing these single episodes that are like movie length almost, or longer than a usual episode, going through each section of the race. How are they going to just do it for the next episode, and then after that they're going to go to a weekly format whenever they get enough episodes done, or the production stabilizes something. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, I'm just glad we're not going to get any more episodes for at least right now, just so I can worry about just Invincible and the boys on Twitter, man. But like I said, the reactions for Invincible are up, so you guys want to check out my reaction to the first 3 episodes, go follow my Twitter and go check it out. Anyway, guys, but yeah, I'm happy, man. I'm excited to see what the rest of Steel Ball Run is. You guys know this is like the most acclaimed part of JoJo. I'm pretty sure it's still the 2nd highest rated manga on Mal, and it's literally right now, with 1 episode out, it is currently the 2nd highest rated anime on Mal, behind Freerun, of course, over FMA. Which, listen, man, like, people have obviously joked about like, Mal's ratings don't really mean much, and like, how much they fluctuate, and FMA, bro, it stood on top for so long, and FMA fans will purposely like downvote anything that got above it to get FMA back on top, man. Which it seems like they stopped doing that because, like I said, Freerun is still #1. But this is starting to get ridiculous, man. That with only 1 episode, Steel Ball Run is already the 2nd highest. I'm like, this is starting to get. I mean, even Freerun should not be this high on that. I love Freerun. It's an amazing person, but it's not FMA. But it's not as good as FMA. Anyway, let me just check the manga list, and it's still there. Yeah, Steel Ball Run is still the 2nd highest rated manga on now. Of course, behind Berserk. So yeah, obviously because of that, I'm very excited to see what Steel Ball Run is. If this is the one that can finally topple part 4. Yeah, part 4 as my favorite part of JoJo's. Like, we're going to put part 5, but nah. We'll see how that. So we'll see if this is finally the one that does it, man. Because like I said, it's like easily the most acclaimed and probably the most beloved part of JoJo for that very reason. But we shall see, ladies and gentlemen, later in the week. Anyway, guys, overall, give this episode a 9 out of 10, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like it, if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me if you feel like it. Links are below, and it goes back for more. See you guys next time.